We live in a planet with a huge history, but do we really know which is the history of it and what has made the Earth the way it is now? We are going to explain it here, now. To explain the history of the Earth, first we have to explain the beginning of all, the beginning of the universe. That is called the Big Bang. The universe started with the Big Bang about 13,000 millions of years ago. It was all a very small amount of matter and energy which was very hot and dense, and it started stretching and expanding. It was not an explosion, but an expansion. There was space and nothing, and that space started stretching and stretching everywhere all at once. From being very little, it became to the size of a football. It was energy very dense with high temperature, and that generated particles and a lot of movement. The different forces of the universe made the universe stretch up to 1 billion kilometers wide, and that reduced the density and the temperature cooled down. So particles stabilized and formed atoms. That atoms clumped together and start creating dense mass. And then galaxies appeared. Our solar system was created from a protosolar nebula. That was a nebulous cloud that, thanks to the force of the gravity, generates a sun, a star on the middle, and then different planets orbiting around it. One of these planets was the Earth. But the Earth was very different from the Earth we know now. First of all, another planet with the size of Mars impacted with the Earth and almost destroyed it. The matter from the Earth came together and formed the Moon, our satellite, that is orbiting the Earth. Because of the high temperature of the Earth and many collisions of asteroids, the Earth wasn't able to have life. But suddenly, the temperatures cooled down and the water inside the Earth surfaced and causes clouds and the Earth crust. That crust was formed by several tectonic plates which made slopes. The Earth reached a level of temperature that permitted liquid water, and then that liquid water generates the oceans, the land, the mountains, and then, what's more important, the atmosphere.
Well, the beginning of life on Earth is unknown for all of us because we weren't alive to see what happened and how this happened. But as the time has passed, many scientists have exposed their theories about how this has happened. After the creation of the atmosphere, water, and the continents, molecules surged. There are a lot of theories which explain their point of view, but the most accepted one is the panspermia, and it explains the following thing. Life on Earth was created around 4,000 million years ago, when the chemical energy of the planet generated molecules with the capacity to reproduce. This molecule is known as the first replier. This means that the same molecule can generate copies of itself. Most of them were the same, but a little part of them contained errors. These errors could be bad if the DNA of the molecule was different and auto-destroyed it, and could be good if it produced a more faster reproduction or more efficient molecules. There were chemical reactions which helped the cells generating more complex structures. These chemical reactions were caused by the energy of volcanoes, the solar rays, and ultraviolet radiation. During a period of time, molecules suffered mutations and became elements with life. This kind of life started in the seas with the bacteria and the sea plants. Sea plants made photosynthesis and generated oxygen, and this oxygen comforted the generation of fishes, amphibians, reptiles, which reproduced in a bigger way and a bigger species called dinosaurs, mammals, and finally birds. As dinosaurs developed, there were thousands and thousands of species which lived in different kind of areas. These areas were all in a huge continent called Pangaea, and with the pass of the time, the Pangaea separated in the different continents we now know. This separation generated the natural selection. You will ask what is natural selection, and this is the adaptation of a species to the ecosystem where it actually lives. For example, a family of dinosaurs lived in the Pangaea, and with the separation of Pangaea, dinosaurs of a same family got separated, and the dinosaurs which live in a different continent than before will have to adapt to the ecosystem. For example, if the vegetation of the ecosystem is really tall, dinosaurs, with the pass of the time, may increase their neck to get to the plants and to can eat them. And this is a good example of natural selection.
The evolution was stopped by the biggest extinction. This extinction was the biggest in the history of the world, and the 96% of the aquatic species and the 17% of the animals on the earth died. The scientists has come up with different theories about the causes of this extinction. One of the theories was the movement of the tectonic plates. With the creation of the new supercontinent and the new superocean, a lot of ecosystems were reduced, and they were interrupted by different animals which kill another, and the life was reduced a lot. Another theory is the impact of the meteorite. The scientists has discovered two craters, one in Antarctic and another in the Yucatan. Another theory of this extinction was the explosion of a supernova. The rays of the supernova could destroy the ozone layer, and then the solar rays could destroy the life in the earth. Another theory is the volcanism. The scientists has discovered that in the same period of the extinction, there were a lot of volcanic activity in the Siberian traps. The volcanic explosion could provoke the acid rain and a radical climate change which could destroy a lot of the life on the earth. Another theory is the accumulation of the hydrogen sulfide in the atmosphere. The last theory is a combination of all the theories that I explained. The scientist thinks that it can be possible that just one cause could provoke this biggest extinction. So they think that it was a combination of it that provoked this extinction. The life in the earth was practically end, but the little part of the life which could survive has evolved a lot, and nowadays we're living our life. The scientist has discovered a theory that between very big amounts of periods there's a Big Bang. They call this the Big Bones theory.